Okay, very good afternoon to all. So welcome you once again. So today we will conduct the next session, second session of the data structure. In the previous session, we discussed about the meaning of data structure. So what is meant by data structure? We discussed in the previous session. After that, so we discussed about the concept of program. So program consists of two things. So algorithm and data structure, right? So algorithm means it's a step-by-step procedure, and data structure. So data structure means it's a logical relationship between the individual element, or you can consider any kind of a data, right? So to carry out some certain work or to create some project, right? So we discussed about the how the data structure is dealing with the storage or memory management and everything, right? Or how to select the data structure. So this part we discussed in the previous session. And after that, one more point we discussed, that is the types of data structure. So in that primitive data structure, after that non-primitive data structures, linear data structure, non-linear data structures. So primitive data structures are integer, float, characters, strings. So these are the primitive data structures. And non-primitive data structure we discussed, that is the array structure, stacks. So these are the non-primitive data structures. And after that, so non-primitive data structure is divided into two categories. So linear data structures and non-linear data structures, right? So linear data structures are stack, queue, linked list, and non-linear linear, stack, queue, and linked list. These are the linear data structures. And after that, non-linear data structure. So here in our data structure, we are discussing or we are studying, that is tree and graph, right? So we discussed about the one more point, we discussed abstract data structure. Now to store the large amount of data, so we are using the abstract data structure. Now here array, structure, stack, queue, linked list, tree, graph is the example of abstract data structure. So all these points, so we are going to discuss in the unit number 1 in detail. So don't worry about that. And after that, we discussed about the syllabus point. So how many units are there, and all the units we discussed, right? And whatever the point is included in the syllabus, all these points we discussed in the previous session. Now today we will start with the unit number 1. But as we discussed in the previous session, so before moving to the unit number 1, so we will discuss some prerequisite of the basic programming language, means some basic concept related with the pointers, array, structures. So these basic concept we'll discuss at the time of practical, and we'll do the practical also, right? Now today we will start the unit number 1. So name of the unit is, now the first PPT is visible to all. So I have showed the first PPT. Introduction to data structure and searching, searching, sorting. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now unit number 1. So introduction to data structure, and name of the unit is introduction to data structure and searching, sorting. Now syllabus point in the unit number 1 is, so what is data structure? So first point of the unit number 1 is, what is data structure, definition of data structure, types of data structures. So already we discussed those types. So once again we'll revise here, or once again we'll discuss in detail. So data structure main, it is divided into 6 parts here. We can categorize them into static and dynamic. After that, primitive, non-primitive, and linear and non-linear data structure. So we'll discuss the definition and example of all these data types in detail. After that, next part of the unit number 1 is study and implementation of searching algorithms. So these searching algorithms are linear search and binary search. Nowadays, in everyday's life also, or in daily, so you are using this linear search and binary search, right? This is the very interesting algorithm. So we'll discuss after introduction of the, or after definition of data structure. And third part of the unit number 1 is study and implementation of sorting algorithms. So, or how to sort the data. So for that purpose, so different technique is there, or different algorithms are there. So bubble sort, insertion sort, merge sort, quick sort, selection sort, cell sort, and radix sort and heap sort. So all these algorithms, so we will discuss in the unit number 1. Now we'll start with the first point. So first, before moving to the first point, so we'll discuss about the title of the chapter. So title of the chapter is Introduction to Data Structure and Searching Algorithms. So here in the PPT, so I have given the description of the each and every words, right? So what is mean by introduction? Introduction means, so we are describing the some documents or scope of the any things, right? Or any documents or any area, or we are introducing the scope of any domains, right? So what is mean by data? So I think everyone is aware with the definition of data. So to whom you are calling data? What is mean by data? Can anyone from your side? What is mean by data?
It is information.
It is a information, right? Very good. Now you have studied the C programming language. So how you are using the data, or how you are using the information in C programming language? Or how you are storing that process? Yes, Nikita madam.
In the form of numbers or words.
Okay, very good. In the form of numbers, words, right? Okay. Next, some observations. Now here the definition is given. Data is a collection of facts such as numbers, words, measurement, words, after that measurements, observations, or just a description of the things, right? So we'll think in technical point, in programming point of view. Now in your C program, so how you are using the data, how you are accessing the data. We'll take a simple example. Now suppose I want to develop one simple application. So the application is addition of two numbers. So I want to develop one simple application. So how many input values you require, or what kind of data you require to develop the addition related operation, or addition related application? What kind of input you require? Yes.
Variable.
Variables you require, right? Now variables means, so in which form this variable is defined?
Integer.
Number, right? So now here the data be required to develop the addition application, right? So addition operation related application. To develop this application, so we required the data in the form of numbers. Now, how this number is considered in our programming language? So by considering the integer data type, right? So you are considering two data types, so or two variables, right? So that is integer, and again one more variable you require for what purpose? To store the result of the addition of these two numbers, right? So here for this addition operation, so we have collected the information in the form of numbers, right? So in the same fashion, so many applications are available, right? Or we are going to develop. right? So depending on the requirement, so we are collecting the information or description of the any of the things is called as a data. So this is called as a data, right? Now after that, the structure. Structure means now after collecting the data, we need to arrange them in some form, right? So here the structure is an arrangement and organization of interrelated elements in a material object or a system, or the object or a system. So organized and used to connect the words of the same part of speech, clauses or sentence, so that are to be taken jointly. Now here the meaning of structure is different, right? Suppose if you want to write a sentence, so how it is written in English, so we need to construct or we need to consider the grammars and everything, right? So by considering the so many clauses, so we are writing a sentence, right? So for that purpose, so different grammatical structure is there. So grammatical structure we are using. So in the same way, suppose if you want to implement the addition operation application, right, or addition of two numbers, so for that purpose, so we need to declare the three variables in, and two out of that three variables. So two variables we are considering for the input, and after that, so after collecting the input, so to take the input from the user, again one more function we require in a, now how to take the input from the user, which function we require in a C?
Scanf.
Scanf, right? So with the help of scanf, so you are collecting the input from the users, right? So with the help of scanf function, and after that you are processing on that. So after getting the input, so you are processing, right? Means processing means how you are processing. Suppose for example you have considered three variables A, B, C, right? A and B you have considered for the input purpose. So after getting the input values, right? So how you are taking the input values, scanf in bracket, you are writing some format specifier and name of the variables, right? So after collecting the input values, so you are processing means, so you are doing the addition of these two numbers. So you are writing C is equal to A plus B, right? So A plus B, plus is for what purpose? For the addition operation purpose, you are writing the plus, right? So here you are processing on that data, right? So after processing on that data, so whatever the result or whatever the outcome you are getting, so that outcome you are storing in a C variables, right? So arrangement of all these is called as a structure, right? So arranging all these things is coming under the structure, right? So here, so data structure. So I think all of you are understood the meaning of the data and meaning of the structure also. Now next is the, what do you mean by searching and sorting? Now searching means, so here refers to finding an atoms in an array that meets some specified criteria. Suppose you have a number of or you have many values, and out of that few values you want to search, right? So for that purpose, searching algorithms we required, or we are searching some values out of that, out of many values, right? So after that, sorting. Sorting means, so refers to rearranging all the atoms in the array into increasing or decreasing order, or we can call them as a, suppose you have 100 numbers are there, but these 100 number is not stored in a sequential order or not in a sequence, right? So suppose if you want to arrange them, if you want to rearrange them into increasing order or decreasing order, or you can call them as ascending or descending order. So at that time, so this sorting algorithm is used, or this sorting concept is used, right? So this is about the title of the chapter. Still we have not started the unit. About central idea of the chapter. The data structure can be defined as a group of data elements, so which provide an efficient way of storing and organizing the data in a computer so that it can be held or it can be used efficiently. Okay. Some example of the data structures are array, linked list, and stack queues. So we will discuss in detail, right? Now this chapter also explain the important data structure, that is searching and sorting algorithms, right? So linear search, binary search, and here sorting algorithm. So list of the algorithm already we discussed. Now, why this chapter is important in the syllabus or in the data structure subject? So by discussing with data structure, so first we need to understand the basic concept, and after that type of data structure, and after that, so how the searching is or the process of looking up a particular data records in a database is called as a searching. After that, the process of ordering the record in a database is called as a sorting. So both of them are a very important field of study in the data structure, right? So searching, sorting is also very important in the syllabus point of view, right? Suppose you want to search some values from the database, so searching algorithm will be used. And suppose if you want to rearrange the record of the record, some record, right? So the record will be rearranged by using the sorting algorithm. So that's why, so these unit 1 is very important in the syllabus, right? As an introduction. Now introduction to data structure. So definition, different operations on data structure. So we'll see these points very fastly, and after that we'll start. Now, first point of the unit number 1 is the definition. So introduction of data structure. Screen, all of you are able to see the screen? Is it visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, computer science can be defined as the study of data and its a representation and transformation. So once data is stored in the form of bits, and it has to be accessed and manipulated many times, right? So computer science. So computer science means, so what we are doing, so it's a study of data and representation of the data and transformation of the data. Transformation means we are transferring the data from one location to the another location. Now, when we are representing or when we are transforming the data, so we need to store at some place, right? Or we need to store the data at particular place, right? So first we need to store in a memory, right? So for that purpose, so we are using the memory. And now in which format it will be stored? So that will be considered in the form of bits and bytes. So have you heard the bit and byte?
Yes, sir.
So can anyone? So 1 byte is equal to how many bit?
8.
8 bit.
8 bit, and bit is represented in the form of 1 and 0, right? Is it correct? So how the bit is represented? Bit value 1, 0, or any other numbers you are concerned. Hello?
Decimal or hexadecimal?
Decimal, hexadecimal, but okay. But in a computer, so computer, so what type of language is computer understanding? Only
Binary language.
Binary. So binary language is represented by using what?
0 and 1.
0 and
1.
1, right? Now whatever the no, Akash, sorry, Akshay Patil has given the correct answer 1 and 0 through chat box, right? Now here, each programming language provide a set of.
Sir, voice is very breaking.
Okay, just a minute. Now it is audible clearly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what we are discussing, so here, so different kind of mechanisms we are using for accessing and storing the data, right? So for that purpose, we have developed so many data structure. Now, what we are doing, so first we are storing the data in a memory. After that, so we need to access the store the data, and after that we need to store the data, right? So here for accessing and for storing the data, so different kind of mechanism is used, right? Or different kind of programming languages provide the set of builds or meaningful formats, and the language also provide the set of operators to manipulate this data, right? Now recently we discussed about the addition operation, right? Now before going to the types of data structure, so we'll see, so why are we studying the data structures? So some few real-time examples, so everyone is aware or everyone is using in your daily life, right? Now I hope all of you know about this this app. So what is mean by this app? So what is mean by this app? What you call
Facebook, sir.
Facebook, right? So right after that, this one
Google.
Google. After
Google.
that, this
Twitter.
Twitter, right? So is it possible to handle all these things without data?
No, sir. No.
Now everywhere we require the data structure, or everywhere data is required. So without data, nothing is possible, or without data structure, nothing we are implementing, right? So every database, so every application is supported by the backend. So the backend is called as a data, right? So without data, we are not doing anything, right? So in the Facebook, so everyone is using the Facebook, right? So Facebook is having the trillions and billions of the data, right? So we can't count the size of that data also. So they are storing in the form of cloud, right? Now this is the big data. So big data means, so this will be stored at different locations, right? So terabytes, so processing, mobile data, so many kinds of data is there. Now how it is managed, so for that purpose, different kind of database we are using, right? To manage the data, so we are using the different data tools, right? Or different database. So we'll discuss whenever we require. So this picture shows the real-time applications, right? Now why we are studying the data structure? So this is the reason. This is the reason. So everywhere, so we need to use the data, or we need to manage the data. Now this is the modern world about all about the data structure. Now dealing with the data, so how to use it, after that how to store it, next how to process it, and how to gain the knowledge from it, right? So answer of all these questions you will get through all the data structure, or whatever the data structure we are going to discuss. So that is stack, queue, linked list, to that tree and graph. So we'll discuss in all these data structure how to use the data, or for example stack, or how to store the data in a stack, how to process the data in a stack, and how to gain the knowledge from it, and how to keep it secret, right? And how should the data be stored? So that is depending on your requirement, right? So here one pictures, the picture is visible to all.
Yes, sir.
Now we back up our data on a sticky notes. So because sticky notes never crash. So is it okay? So if you want to store the data of from decades or from so many years, so is it possible to store the data by using such a notes, sticky notes?
No, sir. No,
Is it possible? No. So solution for this is only the data structure, right? So with the help of data structure, so we will store all the data in the form of, or by using the data structure, so we'll store all these data in a database, right? So we'll not use this kind of sticky notes, right? So this is the main requirement, or we can't remember the things or we can't preserve the data in the form of sticky notes, right? So every day. So it is not possible. So after few days, so because of some reason, so we lost some sticky notes. So the better option is, so we'll store in the form of database or in the form of computer. Now for that purpose, so data structure is very important. Now, but we have some building blocks. So data is diverse, right? So now this is the general things, right? Now elements of the data structure or elementary of data structure. So first, everyone is aware with the array concept. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now in the data structure, so we are going to discuss about the array. Now array is represented like this. So it will be denoted by using the indexing 0, 1, 2, 3 to n, right? Now after that list, right? So head, and after that, so this is the list, right? So this one box is called as a one node, right? So all these nodes are connected with each other, right? So first node is connected by one of the head, right? After that, this first node is connecting with the second node is connecting with the third node, and third node is connecting with the fourth node. So this is called as a linked list. This is called as a linked list. Now we'll discuss in detail in the unit number 4, I think. Linked list concept we'll discuss in detail. After that, this is the stack. So this is called as a stack, right? So here the three element is inserted. Now first we are inserting the element. Now first element is inserted, after the second, and after that third, right? So this insertion is called as a pushing of the element, or push operation we are calling in stack data structure. And after that, suppose if you want to delete or if you want to remove the element, so we are not able to remove the first element, right? So before removing the first element, we need to remove these elements. The last element, after that second last, and after that first element. Means here, so we are using the approach that is the first in last out approach is used, or in short we are calling them as a FIFO, first in last out, right? So first in last out approach we are using. Now in a queue, now we consider the next. So this is the queue, right? So here, so is it visible?
Yes, sir.
F and
Yes, sir.
R is written, right? F and R is written here. So this is called as a queue, right? So here we are inserting the element at one side, and that will be moved here, right? So rear pointer is incremented, and after that, suppose if you want to delete, so the front pointer will delete the element, and after that, the front pointer will move, right? So we'll discuss in detail in the unit number 3 regarding the queue data structure, right? So these are the data structures. So we are going to study in the subject data structure, right? Now after that, this is the tree. Now number 1 denotes the root of the tree. After that, at left side, so left side value is less than the 1, right? And those values are greater than the 1, so that will be added at the right side. Now less value will be added at left side, and greater value will be added at the right side of the root, right? So now here the 1 is the root. After that, this is the child. So all these are the child, right? So this is called as a tree. Okay, now new trends in the computers have made it possible to handle the more complex problems. So requirement of the user with respect to the data processings are also becoming complex. Uh, is it visible? Hello? Someone signed out.
Yes, sir.
Screen is Hello. Hello, students.
Sir,
I think someone dropped and
Sign out.
sir, echo होतोय.
now it is audible. Now you are getting clear voice.
No, sir.
No, sir, echo.
आता येतोय का echo?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Next. All of you mute yourself. So I'm getting echo myself. Now echo is coming. Now it is clear.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Now, introduction to data structure. So the requirement of the user with respect to the data processing are also becoming complex and large, right? Now, to solve these problems, so the basic data types provided by the programming languages are not enough. Now, what type of basic data types? Everyone is aware with this: integer, float, after that string and pointer. So these are the basic data types. Now, by considering this basic data type, so we are not able to solve the problems, or we are not able to develop the project. So for that, or this is not enough to develop some application. So we require, or we need to take the help of some data structures, right? Now, thus there is a need for the data structure, so which gives the more structure to the data, right? So that's why this data structure is introduced. Now, these data structure so may not be combination or collection of the basic data types, so with specific properties and operations, right? Now, the need for the data structure is to identify a solution for data processing problems. So 4 things have to be identified here. The first thing is the data elements, so that are concerned with the problems. Now, first we need to understand what type of data elements you require for the particular problems, right? Whatever the problem you are going to solve, or whatever the problems you have identified, right? To solve that problem, so what type of data you require? So these things you need to consider first. After that, second one is the operation, so that will be performed on these data elements. Now, what type of operation you want to perform on that data? So the second thing also you need to consider. And after that, so methods of storing the data elements in a memory to return the logical relationship between them. Now, whatever the data element you are considering to solve the problem, so how these data to be stored in a memory, right? Or what type of methodology you want to use here to store the data, right? So this is also important in case of data structure. And the programming language, so which suit the current requirement, right? So again, so whatever the data element you are considering, so by considering the data element, so suppose you want to create some logical relationship between these data, right? Now, how to create a logical relationship between the data? So for that purpose, you need to consider some programming language, right? To represent the logical relationship between the data. So we required some programming language. So here the selection of the programming language is also important, right? Now, modern day computing problems are complex and large, so they have to handle the data in large volumes, right? Nowadays, now take the example of a Facebook, right? Now you can imagine, so many users are there. Now, how it will be handled, or how the data of all the user will be handled, right? Now, to handle this large amount of data, so or to store we need to store and we need to process all these information. Now here, so different kind of varieties are there. So we'll take the example of Facebook. So the data we are using in the Facebook. So these are in the different kind of format, right? So here the maybe in the character format, maybe in the numeric format, or maybe in the audio, video, or some graphics format, right? So many formats are there. So depending on their format, so we need to process the data, we need to store the data. So obviously to store all these kind of data, we require the data structure, or we need to handle all these things. So by using the data structure. Now data has to be stored such that the logical relationship between the data element is retained. Now advantages of the data structure is given here. The structured data makes it easier to access and manipulate the information as compared to raw or unstructured data. Now structured data makes it easier to access and manipulate. Now suppose if you have not managed the data, so directly you are storing the data without giving their numbers. So is it possible to access afterwards? Or we can call, so unstructured data is not possible to access afterwards, right? So for that purpose, we need to store them in a structured format, right? So here the structured format or structured data will be accessed very easily, right? Or will be retrieved very easily. And variety of operations also we are able to perform on the structured data. And again, the whatever the logical relationship you want to maintain or you want to show here, so that is also possible by using the structured data only, right? And the logical relationship between the data element can be properly represented using the data structures, and better algorithms can be used on a organized data. So this improves the program efficiency. Now these are the definitions. So already we discussed. So these are the part of OOPS: abstraction, encapsulation, reliability, and generalization, right? Now, so classification of the data structure or types of the data structure. So already we discussed the primitive and non-primitive data structure, linear and non-linear, static and dynamic data structure, and after that sequential organization and linked organization. So these all these parts we will discuss in detail. Now we discuss about the only meaning of the data structure, right, or definition of the data structure. Okay, so next part, so we will continue tomorrow, right?